Today I'm going to make some modifications in my truck bed, so let's get started. So today I'm going to be going over a little modification of my Leer Canopy, and I'm going to be adding the Toyota bed rail system, which up until this point I haven't been able to do because the area where it attaches interferes with my current clamps. So I located the bed rail system secondhand, pretty cheap. I found these canopy clamps that should work with it to allow it to attach to the bed rail. And then because I got it secondhand and I got it pretty cheap, it didn't come with any hardware, so I've got some of these Allen head screws that I got off Amazon. I'm going to throw those in there. But first of all, since I do have a spray-in bed liner that I've had since I basically bought the truck, I'm going to have to clean out all the screw holes that go all the way around. So here's just a little comparison of what I was dealing with before and then what it looked like after I had worked the bed liner out of the screw hole there. And the way I went about doing this is I just used some Harbor Freight picks that I had that are pretty cheap, and I just scored the opening of the screw hole here to kind of separate the bed liner to allow me to then kind of pick at a lip there, as you can see here, and then I would work that out and pull that little piece out of the threads. Finally, I would then clear the initial threads of the screw hole so that the stainless Allen head bolts I had, so they could have something to grab onto. And then right here I would just kind of, once it would thread in there, work it in a little ways and then back it up. So I'd do about a quarter of a turn, quarter to a half a turn, and then back it up, and then another quarter to a half a turn, and then back it up. And I would feel some resistance as I was doing this, but eventually it would give way and the screw would just kind of thread in pretty effortlessly. And I just did this 16 times all the way around. There's 6 on each side and 4 at the front of the bed. But basically, it's a bit tedious, but every one of them cleared themselves just like this using this process, and I had no issues, just took some time. So as you can see, my current clamps pass through the Leer Canopy and hook up under the lip there. But now, with the new ones, they're gonna pass through like that and then fit down and snug into the rail system. So as far as the install, it's pretty straightforward. I worked on one side at a time. I did not remove all the clamps at once, as just out of concern that if something happened and the canopy shifted, it could damage the canopy of the truck. Basically, just remove the old clamps, and then as far as the rails go, I didn't notice if there was a front or a rear. Didn't appear to be directional. There were 2 little plastic guides that were already in the rail. If you have a new system, you may have to put those in yourself, but what they do is line up, and you can use them to push in and retain the rail to the side of the truck, and basically it just allows you to line up all the holes and start threading in all the screws. Just did one at a time here. Didn't fully cinch them all down until the very end. Just wanted to make sure they all got seated properly. But like I said before, it's all pretty straightforward. As you can see, the bolts sit flush enough that the canopy anchors slide freely, and I hope that anything else I get for the rails in the future do the same. So I ended up going to my local hardware store and getting a replacement for these bolts that came with it. The bolts that came with these clamps were over 4 inches in length. I ended up replacing them with a 2.5 inch bolt just because I didn't like how much they were hanging over and became like a snag issue and stuff for when I'm actually loading up the bed here. So anyway, just for a point of reference, it's a 5/16-18 bolt, and I went with a 2.5. Maybe could get away with a 2.25, but that might be cutting a little too close. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much.